Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a severe weather event for parts of the central United States. We have milder air to the west and chillier air to the east, and that temperature difference is going to be creating a lot of storminess right in the middle of the country. So we have the threat of potentially a couple of tornadoes, some hail, and also some damaging storms, as well as a little bit of flooding, which we'll talk about in today's video. We're going to be timing this out for you guys and just giving you a general update on what you guys should be expecting for this event. So here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. Really not too active anywhere in the United States. We have a few red flag warnings in parts of Colorado and Utah, as well as California and Oregon, and other than that, really nothing else going on in terms of watches or warnings right now. As you can see, we had a high temperature yesterday in Death Valley, California, where they got up to 111 degrees Fahrenheit, and a low temperature in Peterson's, Utah, where they got down to 17 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest precipitation or rainfall report was in Davie, Florida, where they got up to 2.29 inches of rainfall, and there were no snowfall reports reported yesterday. So here's what the Storm Prediction Center is showing for today, and you can see that the main risk area is in the Great Plains, especially in western Kansas, the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, as well as a little bit of Colorado and Nebraska as well. So that is for today, mainly for tonight. If we look at for tomorrow, we have that slight risk shifts a little bit further to the south, so now into parts of northwest Texas, western Oklahoma, southwest Kansas, southeastern Colorado, and northeastern New Mexico. So that's the main area of concern for tomorrow, which would be Saturday. And then if we look at for Sunday, that risk area is all a marginal risk, and it's a much wider area, but it's a kind of more of a broader risk. We don't have any specific location as of this point that looks to be the height of the severe weather on Sunday. Although if I did have to make a forecast, I would say it's probably right within here where the height of the severe weather would be on Sunday, just based on the current model guidance that we are getting from some of these computer models. So here's what the excessive rainfall outlook looks like. So this is your chances of seeing some flash flooding. We have a marginal risk in parts of Kansas for today. If we look at for tomorrow, we have two different areas, one in Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and another one in southern Texas. That would be for tomorrow, which is Saturday, and then here would be for Sunday. And you can see one broad area which goes from Texas all the way up to Missouri and Kansas, where we have a marginal risk of flash flooding. So let's start talking about the actual models and timing this out for you guys. You see that we do have a general area of low pressure out into the southwestern United States, and that will be heading further to the east. Out ahead of there, we have a nice warm Gulf flow. So we have warm air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, and the main reason that is because we have a high pressure to the east. So we have this big high pressure right here, and as that's spinning away, it's spinning this in this direction. So it's kind of crossing over the Gulf of Mexico and bringing all of that moisture and all that warm air onto land. So we have a nice flow coming from this high pressure. We have a low pressure, which is bringing in all that moisture that is needed and all that instability that's needed. And wherever that kind of mixes up together, which it looks like it'll be somewhere through the western plains, so I would say into parts of western Texas, western Oklahoma, western Kansas, some of the surrounding areas as well. That looks to be the that looks to be the area that sees the most of the severe weather out of this event. So you can see that by later tonight, we're already dealing with a few storms in parts of the southern plains, but it's nothing that's really too organized. It looks like the bulk of the severe weather will be in Kansas for today and tonight. So this is by very late tonight, so around 10 or 11 o'clock at night today, and we're looking at more of these storms heading into parts of Kansas. These are going to continue to roll around further to the east, strengthen a little bit, weaken a little bit, but generally we're going to see a couple hours of storminess, especially over northern and central Kansas. That continues to head further south and east by Saturday morning or tomorrow morning. We're dealing with these storms in southeastern Kansas, southwestern Missouri, and that whole area is dealing with some general storminess. But this is not the bulk of the storms. So these head out to the east. We're not dealing with too much during the day on Saturday, but it's during the afternoon hours where this does start to ramp up. So this is the evening hours on Saturday, so around 4 or 5 o'clock at night, and we're dealing with some of these storms starting to pop up into parts of Texas, and that's because we have that warm Gulf flow bringing in some of that moisture, and then eventually the storms are just kind of breaking off and starting to form because there is so much instability, so much energy in the atmosphere that the atmosphere just needs to kind of release it in the form of a thunderstorm. So this would be again by in the later afternoon on Saturday into the early evening. We're now starting to see a couple more clusters of storms that look to be a little bit more well developed. Here would be by very late on Saturday, so this would be around 10 or 11 o'clock at night on Saturday, and we're dealing with more of these storms into the southern plains. So you can see anywhere from Kansas all the way down to Texas dealing with these storms that potentially could cause some issues, especially with these bigger storms that you're starting to see this model pick up on. So in southern Kansas, southern Texas, also into western Texas, we have a couple of bigger clusters of storms. We also potentially could be seeing a few more storms into southern Missouri, although that one is a little bit more iffy. We're not really too sure on that one, so that is kind of a hit or miss type of situation, and we'll have to continue watching these models to figure out whether that'll actually happen or not. So this would be around midnight on Sunday morning, and you're seeing more of these storms popping off through the central plains, also into parts of southern Texas. And if we continue this forward a little bit more, these head to the south and east. They're eventually retreating further east. They're just gonna kind of stall out a little bit in the eastern part of Texas and Oklahoma. So you're just gonna kind of see that these lines of storms just kind of stay there, and they're not gonna move too much. They will weaken a little bit as they continue to just head a little bit to the south and east ever so slightly. This would be by Sunday in the early afternoon, and then it looks like probably by the evening hours we'll start to see another round of activity, and this looks to be maybe one of the more severe days for these storms on Sunday night. But the model does not go out far enough for us to actually see what it's forecasting that far out. So we're going to have to kind of pause the model right here. And then over the next couple of days, once this eventually loads in and once we eventually get all of the data for Sunday night into Monday morning, we'll eventually be able to figure out how severe these storms actually will be. Here's the forecasted total rainfall from that model. And you can see it is quite heavy in terms of, this is actually the NAM model, by the way. So we're actually looking at some quite heavy amounts. Now, there is some discrepancy here. We have seen some of the models show a rather big area of heavy rainfall over 4 or 5 inches, but we don't really know where that's going to be. Some show it in eastern Oklahoma. Some, like the NAM model, show it down in northern Texas. Some even showed it just a couple of days ago into southern Texas around Houston and areas south of there as well. So we really don't have a good idea of where exactly that big bulk of the rainfall will actually set up. So we're gonna really want to watch out for that. There is a threat that in any one particular location could see some rather large severe flooding, and that is definitely one of the main concerns with this, and one of the biggest issues is that we really don't know again where that's going to actually set up because the models aren't in too good of agreement. So currently they have shifted a little bit further to the north recently, or over the past couple of days. They were showing it again over the coastal parts of Texas, but now it is shifting a little bit more into northern Texas, Oklahoma, maybe even into Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri. So we really don't know exactly where that'll be. The NAM model seems to want to put it into northern Texas, but again, there are pretty much every different model has a separate solution. So we really have not too good of an idea of what may happen with that. Here's the CAPE values, the convective available potential energy, a way of measuring instability, and you can see these numbers are way above what we would need on Saturday. You can see that we have CAPE values that are between 1,500 and 3,000, even up to 3,500 or more in some of these areas. So we only really need above 500 to 1,000 to get a good thunderstorm. So the fact that we're almost double, triple, even quadruple that is definitely a good sign if you do like severe weather. Here would be on Sunday, and you can see that we actually have some rather high CAPE values in southern Texas and also into the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, as well as eastern New Mexico. So we could see a few more storms pop off throughout those regions on Sunday actually. And here's the dew points. This this would be very late on Saturday with the dew points. We're dealing with dew point temperatures that are going to be between 65 and 70 in most of these areas in Texas, Oklahoma, even stretching into a little bit of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Missouri. And if you look at Sunday, we also have even higher dew points in many of these areas. We have dew points between about 65 and about 72 or 73 in a lot of these areas. You even go down into southern Texas, maybe even some dew points up to 75. So that's really, really humid air, and that is what these storms are really going to thrive off of. Here's the actual temperatures, and you can see that we're expecting high temperatures on Saturday to be in the 70s for many of these areas throughout the south central United States, even a few 80s further to the south. So that is really high enough temperatures to support some thunderstorms. If you look at Sunday, we have high temperatures that are expected to be up into the mid 80s, even into the 90s as well. So these are really warm temperatures into the southern parts of these states, and then you go into the area that's really expecting the severe weather, and we're dealing with temperatures that are expected to be into the mid 70s all the way down into the upper 60s. But even if you're in the upper 60s, like we're seeing on some parts of eastern Oklahoma, northern Texas, that is still enough to support a thunderstorm. You really only need temperatures above 65 to get a thunderstorm, and especially since most of them are originating in a warmer area, the fact that they move over a colder or chillier spot really won't have too much of an impact on their ability to really grow and form. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.